okay.
The screen, the slide, so that we can properly introduce him.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so sorry for the delay, everyone, and good afternoon. So good day, everybody, to another session. So today we'll be looking at logical statements and condition in Excel, and Chiedozie is going to take us through the session. So the Microsoft Excel learning community is being powered by UrBizEdge, and UrBizEdge is a registered Microsoft Excel consulting, financial modeling, business intelligence, data analyst, and enterprise solution firm located in Nigeria. We do trainings, and this is our current training calendar. So we do trainings of financial modeling, Microsoft Excel, Power BI, and big data. So today our guest speaker is Chiedozie, and he's a business analyst and business strategist. He's also a Microsoft certified trainer. He's also very resourceful, a motivated technology enthusiast, and he has a passion for database management, business intelligence, and predictive analysis. Hello.
Hi guys. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Apologies for the delays. Yeah, there were some technical difficulties. Not to take so much of your time, because we are already running out of schedule. I'll go ahead now and present the screen that we'll be working on today. So can you please confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. So as the gentleman who introduced me said earlier, we'll be talking about like logical and statistical functions. We'll spend just below 15 minutes talking about that conditional formatting, and then we'll look at how we can be very effective in our workplaces these days. So the topic today is on prioritization. So as we know it, prioritization is very important usually when you have very limited resources. It could be, you want to start your own project, you want to do something, but you don't have that much time. You may not also have the financial requirements to undertake all the projects at the same time, and that's when prioritization becomes really important. So on the sheet, if you can see this, I have quickly just put up a list of 4 items that we want to sort of prioritize which we will be doing first. So as you can see here, clearly most of us are interested in being Excel experts, but you may want to define the parameters at which you use to rank these projects, these conflicting projects and competing demands. So as you can see here, the items are listed. You might even have a project manager if you want to go into details on that, and then give the detail on the Excel project. So as you can see, there are other columns here that sort of talk about how we'll be measuring the priority of the items. So if you know the impact of the project, you have it here. The reach is, how long you think this project is going to take, the confidence level you have on, carrying out this project, the benefit you may have out of, carrying out the project as well. And then the effort. How much work do you really need to put in to have these projects worked on? And then the last column talks about the score. So it's going to be a metric method of prioritizing the project. So as you can see here, there's some numbers here, and then you can put it in different groups if you want to. You can be priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. So that's just a summary of the document we have here. It's very important for us, especially in times when you have very competing demands. The other tab here that we'll be working with, which sort of give you the data set that was used to populate this main page if you can see it. So coming back to this example, becoming an Excel expert. So you may want to, define what the impact might be. So as you can see, there are 5 of them here: massive, high, medium, low, and minimal. So if the next project was learning Excel, as you can see here, you can come down here and select what level it is. The question is, how was this done? So I would use this space to sort of show you how this can be done. So if you come to the data part of your Excel ribbon, and then you come down to data validation, you select data validation. Usually you'll select the list under the setting part, allow a list. So when this pops up, then this section talks about, where you want to reference the list from. So you have to define this. In this scenario, I had defined mine to be this. And so you just notice what happens when I accept it. The drop down comes out. If you can see that, sorry, 1 second. Let's confirm what we put in here again. Okay, so you come down here and then you select this. So it's identical to what we have here now. The same applies to the reach. You use the list, you do the same things. Also, wherever you see this drop down, it sort of tells you that, yeah, you have used the data validation. That applies here, here, and here. But the interesting part is the total score. So that will be an opportunity for me to talk about performing logical operations using VLOOKUPs. So I've shown you how you can use the data validation to create lists, which may be useful. And then, yes, looking at logical and statistical functions, I will now show you how these total scores were put together. So we have all this data here, and I'll take a few minutes to explain how the data here works. If you had a massive impact, you've scored it to be 15 out of 100, high, 100, and all that. That also applies to this array. And one thing we should know when we see arrays is that usually you may have to use a VLOOKUP or a HLOOKUP. The difference between the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP is that the items here, as you can see, are in columns. So it's vertical array. If it was a HLOOKUP, it would be much more horizontal. Anyways, that being said, I'll go ahead and explain. So I've made it a slightly complicated function here, but don't be afraid. It's really easy if you understand it. So I will start from the inside of it to explain. So if you look at the VLOOKUP here, you would see that it's getting the data set from the page I showed you that had the array. So this has all the information there, and then you select the column number. In this case, it's been defined as 2, so it's the second column. It means that it's going to be the second column on the table we have. And then the range lookup as false. It means that in this case that usually it's either true or false. So in this case, it means that it's completely true. Exact match, as you can see here, find an exact match. So false in this case is a good thing. So that sort of explains this part. And this is directly connected to the impact we have here. So we've gotten a particular value for this item. Remember, we selected theoretically minimum. So as you can see here, we have just 1.25, which is directly identical to this. So I'll quickly move on to the reach. I'll assume that you understand what I've explained here. I'll put in a value here, and you can see it's changed as well. Low confidence. I'm just trying to select the lowest values so that I have the lowest priority as well. Okay, so as you can see here, the same formula has been used. So the VLOOKUP essentially tells you where to pick up the value from. And the value of this if error statement is that, if there is no value that has been assigned in the VLOOKUP, it gives you, so we can see the quotation mark here in quotes that says that, well, if there's an error, just tell me that there's nothing there in quotes. But because there's a value here, it's not going to show us nothing, essentially. Similarly, for the reach, the confidence level, the net benefits, and the effort. And then this is a subtotal. The beauty of subtotals is I really like using subtotals as opposed to sums, because personally I find them more effective, especially when you make a bunch of changes. So that's why you can see the subtotal here, but the sum would also work in this case. So the subtotal essentially tells you, so this is the first code. So as you can see here, I've selected 109, which essentially talks about sum. There are different options you can select. You can play around with this if you want to understand why 109 was selected. And then these are all the items on these individual columns that have been added. So like I said, the sum would also work, and I can, just show you what So it even appears that I missed one. So okay, pretty identical now, and I can go ahead and do that for the rest. Okay, perfect. So I have talked about logical and statistical functions. We have looked at how to perform logical operations by using the if function. I showed you the if error. There was also a few if statements here as well. Yeah. So this has an if statement to sort of put the items in the right colors. But because of time, I might not really speak a lot to this. Yeah, if you were actually interested in doing this, you can do this from here. But because I don't have time, I might not be able to go into the details. But essentially, yes, we've looked at performing logical operations by using if functions. We've performed logical operations using and or functions, and we also looked at nested functions. So the nested function is where you have a very complicated looking command that has a command inside of another command. That's what makes it nested. And in this scenario, I have used the VLOOKUP and nested it into an if error statement. So moving on, I will show you, just give me 1 second. Are there any questions?
At the moment, none.
Oh, that's great. We have a good group of people. Okay. So I'll go on now to, since we have some time here. So I'll go on now and explain this functional formatting, which is very important anyway. We may have a scenario where you just want your stakeholders to be able to, on first glance, just go through or skip all the details and just have a pictorial view of, okay, what's happening. So that's where this, where this is particularly important. Some people just don't want to see numbers. They want to see, okay, how impactful is this on us? So I'll go through the conditional formatting on how this was created, the P1, the P3, and the P4. So if you come down to your conditional formatting and then you come to manage rules, I have put in the rules that were used to create the functions and also color them. So in this scenario, for the P1, if the P1 is, if it's actually P1, what I've done now, I'm going to edit the rule so you can see it here, is that I've said that whenever the cell is equal to P1, the color should look this way. So we can sort of look at what has been done here. It might be interesting to some of us. So on the format, there are a few things you can do here. You can change the color to red. So this means that the text is going to be red. So as you can see on column L, P1 is red. That's because it's been defined here as red. And then on the borders, you might have noticed something interesting about the lines around this item.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, so I think when you shared your screen, you didn't share entire screen. I think you shared those windows. So anything that pops up, or just pops up dialog box doesn't show. Right. Yes.
That's sad. Okay.
So you can or share, then you will share, but you pick the first option, which is share entire screen.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Screen 2. Oh, thanks for.
No screen.
About now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen, but I can't see the. Are you right now at the moment? Have you opened the dialog box for conditional formatting?
No, I haven't opened the dialog.
You have not opened it. Okay, so maybe try opening it. Let's see.
It's open now.
That will pop up. Okay,
Can you?
yes, so it's,
oh, perfect.
Yes, we can see it now. Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, I don't know who is requesting control, but I think we have sort of fixed the challenge. So I would just quickly go back to what I was explaining. Sorry about that. I'm really sorry. So I'll start again. So to sort of understand how these items are the way they are, because as I said, some stakeholders may just want to see, if you're presenting it to a board, if you're presenting it to your manager may just want to see the colors and know, what items am I meant to work on first? How do I triage what we have? So coming down here to the conditional formatting, I can manage rules. The value of managing rules is that you see what I've done. So I'll take this as a case study, the value for P1, and try to explain to you how I have made each cell on the L column look this way. Clicking on edit rule, and format, we can see here that the color has been specified as red. That's why the P1 here is red. We have defined the fonts to be red. Also, the borders, as you can see, also I've defined the borders. If I wanted to change what the border looked like, all I'll do is select this, and then it's changed. I could also change the bottom part to look like this. And so we can see that this looks this way. And yeah, it might be really important to your team to have different borders, because I find that usually when you have different colors, sometimes things overshadow other things, and it's important to have a border defining how your work should look. So yes, we have looked at applying the functional formatting. If you wanted to create a different border, yeah, you can always come down here, new rule, and then you go ahead and define how you want your items to look. So if I decided that this item here, this particular one, would look a different way, all I do is edit, edit, change the line, and then okay, and you would notice that this would change. Apply, all change now. So we have looked at applying conditional formatting, managing the formatting rules, and formulas as well. So as you can see here, I had put in a formula here, and then went ahead and used the conditional formatting. So looking at the formula here, I've defined that. Let's look at it. We have a few minutes. I've defined that if the K6, which is the total here, is empty like this, then yeah, we should just have it look that way. But if it doesn't, then we're now going to assign the P1s to items. So as you can see here, if the item is greater than 975, it's going to be assigned a P1. But if it's greater than 50, it's a P2. If it's greater than 25, it's a P3. And then usually with these functions, the else is the last thing, so you don't really have to define it. So as you can see here, the P4 is the else. So anything less than 25 is automatically going to be a P4. In this scenario, we had the total of, for K6, it was 80, and so we have a prioritization of P1. So that's why we have a P1 here. But in this scenario, because this is less than 25, defined in the formula here. So once K10 is less than 25, we have it as a P4. Yeah, so if you wanted to, go in and, put in more information here, the beauty of this, I suppose in the past I had done this kind of a chart using combo boxes. It's a different way to do it, but you can sort of run into troubles when you want to increase the size of your document. So I will go ahead and just show you an example of what I mean. So this is a project, and then if I was going to use a combo box, I will first of all come here, go to my options. So the idea is to select the developer. Let's see if we have time. Do we have any other questions? This is just an added feature to our class today. So if there's any questions, I can always stop and explain what I mean. But I mean, if there's no question, I'll just go ahead and show you a different way you could get the same work done.
No questions at the moment.
No questions?
No, really. Yeah, at the moment.
Okay. So let's see what this is. So this is similar to what we have here, as you can see. But right here, you have to define, you know, what you want your input to look like. So if I was going to come here and select this, and then link it to, well, maybe just below here, right? We have a similar result, but the danger of it is that it may be, you can see here that it shows you almost identical items as you see up here, right? But the danger of it is if you decide to move stuff around. So I'll give you an example. If I decide to, you know, if I had a lot of items that needed to move, sometimes because of the way these objects are, it's not really the easiest to move around. So I find that, you know, using the data list validation, the lists here, makes things particularly important. So you can just go back to your manager to, if it's a personal project, you could just come here and then you look at all the items that are P1, P2, P3, P4. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to become an Excel expert first before I become start developing a sauna recreation room. If most of us might live in very hot climates, and you know, having a hot tub might not, you know, be the best thing for you to have, you know, in the very hot season. So you may prioritize, you know, starting. You may now have to decide, okay, do I start by having a Gary manufacturing organization, or, you know, do I become an Excel expert? And then, you know, if you have the resources at the end of the day, you can always come back to develop your recreation sauna room. Well, that's all I have today. If there are no questions today, I would wish everyone a good day. Do we have any questions from the group?
So hello everyone. Are there any questions? Anything you need to? At the moment, there's none. What does the copy button do? The copy macro button you do? You have
Sorry?
the copy button. So
Copy.
the macros. You have a macro.
Oh yes,
that's the button.
you noticed that.
So
Okay. It wasn't particularly part of the class objectives, but yes, you're right. It has the macros. It essentially copies everything on the screen here
so
to this spot and then sorts it immediately. So if I clicked on it, it would just essentially copy all the results I have here. So click, it copies. It hasn't been defined properly. Yeah, it's picking the wrong columns, but yeah, it's essentially it's meant to, and then you can sort if you wanted to sort them. Yeah, it's a very handy work if you know are in a project team and you know you have projects that may have different audiences and you know you want to show to your team or the executives that, well, I have a justification that this project should come before the other, then yeah, Yeah.
Okay.
It seemed you're more interested in macros. Yeah.
No, I just noticed it during the
Yeah.
presentation. I was
Yeah.
wondering what the macro does.
Yeah. That's a good question. Very good question. Yeah. Macros are really, really valuable in Excel work. But I find that organizations might not really want their Excel sheets to have links. So as much as possible, if this is a personal document, fine and good, you can go ahead with having a macro. But if you want to have it in your organization, sometimes they become very wary about malicious links, and macros might be frowned against. Sometimes simple is better, unfortunately. Any other questions?
This is sometimes. Is this something? What is better?
Simple is better sometimes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just because some organizations are very sticky on, having links, and they don't know where the links go, and they're like, oh, this is malicious, this is a virus, and things don't work out the way you plan them to work out when you
Yes,
share it on
yes,
the
yes.
company sites.
Okay. So at the moment there are no questions. I don't know why, but thank you so much for showing us about links, conditional formatting in Excel. But so at the end of every session, we usually ask our guest speaker two questions. We usually ask them, first of all, how did they get started in data analysis? So what motivated you to start in data analysis? Okay, so it was very informative also.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Asimina.
That's me now.
I hope, yeah, I hope I pronounced your name very well. And yeah, thanks, Ifeanyi, for setting this up. The reason why I started in data analytics might not be any surprise to many of you. I have an oil and gas background, and yeah, we all know how the oil and gas industry is going, particularly in the West. And yeah, I found that I needed to, upskill the skills I had. And being an engineer, most times you have the analytical skills to problem solve. You can see things in a different way because you're good at numbers. So yeah, that was the first attraction I had to it. And so I started with Excel. I was particularly scared of coding, but for some reason I was scared of it. But once I jumped into it wasn't as challenging as I imagined it to be. So yeah, I have worked on throwing in codes into into Excel, like you're rightly seen, using VB and all that. Yeah. I do a little bit of low coding using, Microsoft Power Platforms and a few other technology that are out there. I find that, once you just get your hands wet a little bit, you you figure out that, oh, I can see that Simina is also an engineer. Sure. You probably share my sentiments.
So I did web designing. I was not even interested. So I'm a business person. I love business. So I'm actually interested in data. You understand? I do business to understand how the trends moves in the market. So I studied postgraduate diploma in business management. Then I did my MBA. Now I'm going back. I'm actually with Regenesis Business School. I'm doing data science, and like Coursera, you mentioned another. I think with one campus, I'm also doing a data analysis. So I wanted a motivation. That's why I followed people, which I see they disseminate knowledge or information to people. And one of your, I think, like what you're teaching, I know about Excel, but I'm not as 100% good like what you are doing here. But I can still find my way around to do common stuff, Like now, relating it, I'm interested when you related it to data analysis and Excel, skills. So it's something because I'm actually working on Tableau, and I see there are functions within Excel which I cannot do in Tableau. But the Excel one is something because I see when we are in class, some guys, they spoke about how you can use the Excel to do data, to clean data and all those stuff. That was why I asked that question. I need someone also who can mentor, It's not I like to learn from people who knows it, and I see the way the facilitator is actually going about it. I'm interested. That was why I was asking that question, because I am actually aspiring to be a data scientist and a data analyst at the same time, because I see there are two different things when I started growing in it. Thank you. Thank you for giving the platform. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I've shared the link to the community. So we have a Power BI community, we also have an Excel, we also have a financial modeling community. So every Sunday, we meet up and we reach out to speakers, or people can reach out to us, and if they want to speak, they could speak about something in either anything related to data analysis, Excel, Microsoft, basically any tools actually. So Chiedozie, so thank you for today's session. Really thank you. And we have another session coming up in less than 1 hour on Microsoft on Power BI. So our speaker is going to talk to us today about, I'm trying to pull it out. Going to talk about Power BI integration with the rest of the Power Platform. So you probably know him. Reza is really popular when it comes to Power Platform, and anything Power Platform, from Power Apps, Power Automate, is really popular in that field. So I'll see you by 6 o'clock, which is less than an hour. So I've shared the link in case you want to join. I'll share the link. So the link is, so you just have to, you click on it and you join the community. You should get the link for this session. Even when you open the page, you see the journey link is here. So you can just click on this link and you join the session every Sunday. So once again, thank you for the session.
Thanks, and apologies again. Have a good one.
All right, now.
Bye.